Welcome to today's episode. We have a very exciting guest today, Paul Louie, founder of Essencap Funding. And for those who are just tuning into the podcast for the first time today, we are Stravix, a company that helps financial firms scale revenue and operate more efficiently. So if you want to learn how to take your business to the next level, make sure to stick around. If you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop us a word in the DMs or the comments below. So, Paul, we are very excited to have you on today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Of course. So, why don't you just start us off a little bit with your personal and professional background?
Sure. So after college, I started with Wall Street firm. I went through a 20-year cycle with Wall Street. So my focus back in the day was mainly on equity derivative tradings. So after 2007, which is a big mortgage meltdown, I exited Wall Street in 2010 and started my own small entrepreneurial firm where we mainly focus on small businesses and investor loan. So it's been a very healthy, exciting 15-year journey now.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. Why don't you? I know that every day could look a little bit different, but how would you describe like exactly what you do today or day to day?
Oh, that's a great question. So when we come in and hopefully religious people don't take offense by this, one of my former boss always say, if you have a plan and you tell to God you have a plan, God will laugh at you. So we get whacked in multiple different ways. So we do have a team that's dedicated to loan process, but due to the specialties of what we have, there's no one size fit all kind of measure on the loan transaction. I could deal with a medical doctor, and then the next minute I could deal with a developer where they want to construct complex apartment building, where the doctors just want to build her or buy her real estate for medical practices. So very two extreme cases. And then we have, supermarket client. We have very father and mom kind of, they want to buy a property, every quarterly or yearly just to build their wealth. So we have a spectrum of client, and so we do have a team to dedicated to the loan transaction. I mean, I'm involved on a day-to-day transaction. However, client wants to get educated, want to ask the right question. They want to make sure they deal with the right form. And so we have to dedicate our time and resources to make sure that we could educate our client and provide the right loan product for our client.
Yeah, that all sounds interesting. So every day is kind of different. You got to put out.
Kind of different.
Yeah.
I think that got very
Yeah,
respectfully. It's you just
course.
can't tell how your day is gonna go.
Of course, I know where you're coming from. So, what at Essencap, what makes you guys different from traditional lenders or brokers? Why you guys?
Yeah, so we are a private lender. So the main thing is the capital source and the cost of capital, right? So we mainly focus on efficiency and streamline. A lot of banks really worry about the global cash flow. They worry about how many property the client have. And on a private level, we look at the assets specifically and we have lesser concern outside of a specific asset. So, for example, we could be helping a client who live in New York. I'm in New York, and they want to go to Florida to buy an investment property. We're absolutely okay with that. But then, if you go to a bank, the bank might have concern, like you're not fully engaged with the property. You're far away. And to us, we can assess the risk. We are welcoming the risk, and we are okay.
Yeah, oh, I see. That's great answer, Paul. Thank you. So I also kind of want to dive into kind of what you guys are focusing on and looking at now. So I want to first know like what type of businesses or borrowers come to you, and but more specifically, what like financing challenges are they typically facing? Is there kind of like a phase that you're seeing at the moment, or is it kind of just all looking different? Like what's it in the market at the moment?
That's a good question. So we, as a loan transaction guy, and this is one thing that I've been honest with the client is client tends to grow their life, walk their life with the timeline of their life, right? We are a loan people, so we spend minutes, maybe hours looking at the file, right? We didn't take the journey with the client, right? Um, we have client that does recycling businesses, so they can be spend 10, 20 years on the recycling business. So there are certain facets that we are not fully aware of from the day to day. So we are very number driven. We are very mathematical model driven. Um, and we trying to help the client by study their financials. So there's always a challenge for the businesses to answer to banker because they answer to their client. They worry about their transaction, right? The one of the few things that they worry about is the financial, right? They hire CPA, they do whatever they need to do for their tax obligations, but they don't necessarily will manage their financial to the way that we want because they're not built to answer to banker.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a great answer, Paul. Thank you. So why don't you tell us a little bit, what is the future looking like for Essencap at the moment? And I know you mentioned that you have some events coming up, so why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, so we are very excited. We are very fortunate. It's been a 15-year journey and we continue to grow the firm. So we are going to present in the upcoming two events. One is going to be for Orlando, Florida. We're going to be at the Florida Realtor Convention Trade Expo on August 25th to 26th. And we also are scheduled to be we are home based in New York. So we are going to be in the New York Real Estate Expos at the end of October. I do apologize. I have to look up the date.
No problem. But it's looking like
So
August, October.
October 28th. Yeah. So we're gonna be excited and we're gonna introduce a new model for our relationships because we have tremendous success and we want to continue to help not only to the client but also help other loan officer to have a very symmetry model of what we have, which is what we call corresponding lending. So we are very excited to introduce a new model to the market.
Yeah. Do you want to expand a little bit on corresponding lending in case our audience?
Yeah, so we have, very fortunate. We have a 15 years journey. So we actually have the capital. We are actually very actively lending in the market. Through our corresponding relationship, the third party loan officer can sign up with Essencap and we can have a mutual goal where we could channel through the loan of third party officer and to fund their client transaction. So that's what we call the corresponding lending model.
Yeah. Well, thank you for expanding on that. And it sounds like you have some great events coming up, like that funds good things in the future. And kind of on that, what's some goals or just a very umbrella term, but any goals you have for the next 8 to 12 months for your company, just in general?
I think maybe going back to a little bit of philosophy is we want to continue to provide capital through the right audience. And we're going to continue to do that. Now we're going to step on the pedal a little bit and we're going to continue on and multiply ourselves with a bigger balance sheet and more aggressively lending in the market.
So you want just more loans funded?
We want more loans, yes. We want to help the client. We want to help the client achieve their goal by using our capital.
If I can ask, is there any specific number you guys want to reach by the end of the quarter, by the end of the year, or is it just more loans?
No, I think there's also a danger, right? The more exposure we have, the more risk is going to adapt. So we're in a very good pace of what we do. We are one of the firms that has been consistently growing, but we are not a massive kind of firm. So, but we want to continue to do what we're successful, and we continue to have the capital, and we just want to continue to do what we can do to help our clients.
I mean, exactly. And it sounds like you guys have had such an incredible journey so far. You said 15 plus years, you guys have expanded, you have the capital, you have events. Sounds amazing. And you just mentioned that the goal for the business would be to just get more loans funded, right? Hypothetically, let's say if you had just a magic wand that could fix one thing in your business right now that's holding you back or slowing you guys down from getting to that point, that goal, what would that one thing be?
That's a great question. I think it's the time-consuming process, right? Because a lot of what we do is really risk-based. And remember what I say, client is not necessarily, like when they need the capital, they're not necessarily ready. And I don't mean they're not mentally or physically or business, but a lot of it is documentation. Is the documentation ready, right? So it is a very time consuming process for us to get the right documentation, even though our process is pretty streamlined. A lot of time we could close a loan within 3 to 4 weeks. But to getting the point of starting, educating the client, right? So we're hopeful that we are actually building out. There's one thing I didn't mention is we are building out a lot of AI infrastructure. So we are actually leveraging AI to help answer a lot of the question that our third party loan officer might have and the client might have. So we are actually working on what we call GUI and leveraging the AI infrastructure that we have. And we could load our experience into the AI. But as you can see, as you know, there's a lot of investment, a lot of resource behind the scene, and it's not as easy. So maybe the magic wine is just to have a cohesive, streamlined process from beginning to end, which we trying to every day we're trying to master that.
Yeah. No, of course. There's always room to expand too, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so just to kind of wrap things up, is there any last words, any words of advice? Anyone's trying to break into the industry right now? Just anything you'd like to send them off with?
Be patient, be real, be analytical. That's like very upfront analytical. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of opportunity in the market. I'm very glad I stepped into the industry, but it's really difficult for not as easy for new people to dissect which transaction you should go into and spend the time to process to analyze the loan. So, you got to be incredibly patient and you got to be incredibly analytical, ask the documentation, ask the question up front and just walk the hall. That's my advice.
It's amazing, Paul. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It was a pleasure talking. I think we had some great insights.
Appreciate, Megan. Thank you.